It's tomorrow and I'm going to talk about training frequency and volume for strength. But you are going to be selecting heavier weights and you're going to try to measure your 1 rep max for your major lifts. And that's going to be really helpful because you're going to want to be training in like the 70% of your 1 rep max or closer. Good training volume and frequency is dependent on your experience level as a lifter. What I mean by volume is the number of sets and reps, working sets and reps. And what I mean by frequency is how often you perform those sets, how you break that, lump of sets and reps down across the week, how you spread it out. So beginners are maybe 2 times a week per muscle group. And intermediate to advanced is 2 to 3. You do want to make time for recovery. Lifting is just the part of the process that stimulates the muscle growth, but the muscle growth actually occurs during your recovery phase. And I prefer 2 days of active recovery or 2 days of recovery. You can still do normal activities, you just wouldn't perform any working sets on those days. And you also want to make sure that you are sleeping and eating appropriately to make these gains. When it comes to volume, a beginner could do 10 to 12 sets per muscle group per week, however you want to break that down. Oh, it really matters. You do want to make sure that you aren't clumping all your sets into one day. Maybe you are doing upper body and then lower body. So I performed 2 leg days. I also kind of broke it down into pushing and pulling. So I did one day where I was doing all the pulling exercises, like bicep curls, and then another day for pushing exercises, which is like chest press. Interested in breaking it down that way, but there are different ways you could break it down, and I do recommend doing that. Intermediate might be 12 to 18 sets per week, and advanced lifters for strength training maybe 6 to 24 or more sets per muscle group per week. And again, frequency is however you want to break it. Excuse me. For strength, you do want to focus on compound lifts like presses, squats, deadlifts. You want to lower the rep range, which is like 3 to 6. And you want to do heavier loads between 75 and 90% of your 1 rep max. And your coach can help you determine your 1 rep max. So 1 rep max is actually a tool to help you measure your strength. So be recording what you're lifting, your AMRAPs, your intensity, things like that. So yeah, like I said, you can split up the routines, upper, lower, push, pull, legs, and distribute the volume and frequency throughout the week. Progressive overload, and so if you start, beginner to advanced, you can progressively overload by changing the volume, by changing the weight. So there's a lot of ways to grow in this exercise if it really becomes a hobby for you. At bare minimum, stick to 2 times a week. I often get asked this question because people want to know what the bare minimum is for lifting, because they're either not that interested, but they recognize the significance of lifting, or they don't have enough time. But at least 2 times a week per muscle group. I mean, you can stick with that. Progressive loading, though, is important to see growth. It matters. Track your performance. And if you are interested in working with me, please contact me. Post in the comments. I have a website, idfitprograms.com, that you can visit. You can contact me through there.